Thank you. Assistant Administrator Fox, you and I talked about this yesterday on the phone, and this is a bit in the weeds, but you came out several months ago, or maybe a year ago, with what was called a health advisory level for the PFOAs, which were so low that unmeasurable. Systems are unable to measure as to what the EPA was saying would be a health advisory level. You come back now with the safe drinking, the MCL, which I'm really pleased that we're here today to talk about that at 4, and it's significantly higher than what you previously said the health advisory level would be. And so I asked this question, how did you what science was the basis for these health advisory levels? Yesterday or a day before, 1,800-page response from you and the EPA, which was difficult to go through because it had a lot of attached reports and everything with it. But what I'm worried about is the risk communication. Mm-hmm. What does this mean to somebody who's actually trying to determine if their system is safe and how it's going to impact the health and the drinking water standards? And so I'm going to actually submit questions to you in writing because this is going to get a little bit technical, and I don't want to take up all my time on technicalities. So if you could respond to those when I send them, I would very much appreciate that.
Yes, happy to.
Great, thank you. Let me ask again on the PFOA and PFOS issue. So we've set the drinking level. We're going to probably have requirements for systems to test to this level and compliance. There's going to be a lot of instances of what you would call a passive receiver, somebody who basically a water system who receives the water from a source and passes the water on, and maybe the level is a little bit higher. And I'm worried about the liability issues. I know you're not in charge of CERCLA, but have you all thought about this and what kind of issues we might be addressing here at the Congress in terms of the passive liability issue for PFOS?
Yeah, so you're correct. Thank you for that question. So on the CERCLA hazard designation, that is, of course, in our Office of Land and Emergency Management, but one thing that is, I think, particularly exciting about how we are approaching the issue of PFAS at the agency is we really are taking a whole-of-agency approach. So the Office of Water team has engaged closely with the Office of Land and Emergency Management on these issues of passive liability. And, certainly drinking water systems, wastewater systems, PFAS has entered these systems, and they're not the responsible party. So as that CERCLA hazardous designation rule continues to move forward, the agency is thinking about enforcement discretion and what's appropriate, just as we do with other CERCLA designations. Right now, though, is such an exciting moment to be moving this drinking water rule forward because we also have the resources in the bipartisan infrastructure law. We're working very actively with states and local communities to make sure that the $9 billion that you all dedicated to addressing PFAS and emerging contaminants is out there, that water systems are accessing those funds, getting these treatment technologies in place. And so I think that's going to make a huge difference as we move forward.
What would you say to every state in terms of the retention of the flexibilities that's built into the systems on the revolving funds? Once those revolving funds leave D.C. and go to our states like West Virginia, is all the responsibility in the state then, or that's what I would prefer. How do you see that?
So I really see it as a partnership. We have been very clear in our implementation memo around the bipartisan infrastructure law that we value the flexibility that states have always had with the SRS. And Senator Capito, if you look at the thousands of projects that are on these intended use plans, they are so diverse. They're funding drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, small projects, big projects, cybersecurity. So the states are very much in the driver's seat in selecting the projects that really meet the needs of their residents. So I think we have preserved that. But it's also a partnership. So, and it is our obligation as for oversight and to make sure that states are utilizing these resources in a way that's consistent with the legislation and the statute. So, an example of that is around disadvantaged communities. So one of the things that we talked about in the SRF implementation memo is, we summarize that, of course, states are the ones that determine definition of disadvantaged communities, both on the clean water SRF side as well as the drinking water SRF side. To be helpful in that implementation memo, we laid out criteria that tend to be good criteria that states are utilizing in those definitions, and then ones that are maybe more problematic. And what is so exciting is that a number of states sort of chose to amend their definition of disadvantaged communities, and so we're seeing this trend line of those definitions really being consistent with the statute, the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Clean Water Act. So ultimately, it's a partnership, but yes, absolutely, the states are in the driver's seat in selecting the projects that best meet the needs in their borders.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that answer, and I think part of your answer sort of went to what my opening statement was saying, that the states need to be in the driver's seats. The states are going to be able to make the best determinations. And I think what we've seen, not just at EPA, but also over at transportation, is the administration's putting the foot on the pedal here at in certain instances and suggesting certain parameters that then lead to, I think, our states wondering if we don't go the way that the EPA is saying, or we're going to have some kind of I don't want to say penalty, but are we being guided by other issues that really, if we were doing it on our own, we wouldn't be doing it quite this way. And so I think that's a cautionary tale. So, Senator Kramer.